Hi, and welcome back to yet another video. This is the 6th episode of the story about the time when Sasuke gives his sharingan eyes to Naruto on verge death in waves. Let's watch as Naruto Uzumaki, Uchiha takes world by storm. After you've finished watching, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Kakashi stood on the platform overlooking the combat arena waiting for his students to arrive. He stood on the end of the Konoha teams and looked at the other examinees, surprised at the number of competitors that made it. Wow, usually there are only 4 teams that pass the second exam, but it seems we have an outstanding crop this year. Let's see, it looks like the Sunas, Kumos, and Guy's team made it out early like mine, but team 8 and 10 look a little beat up still. They must have passed by the skin of their teeth. And the foreign teams sent the cream of the crop, that's Baki of the East Wind and B of the AB duo. The doors slammed open and Kakashi smiled at his Chunin as they made their way up to him. Almost as soon as they reached their sensei, the Kumo down and jumped across the room before landing in front of Naruto with his fist extended. Yo, my name's Killer B, but you can call me Hachibi. I'd like to tell you I'm feeling fine, but can you tell me how you're doing, Mr. 9? Kakashi gave the man a nervous look and noticed the concerned faces of the other Konoha sensei. The Chunin looked confused except Shino, who showed no reaction, and Shikamaru, who looked like he found out that Ino was sick for a week and couldn't nag him. Naruto bumped fists with the rhyming man. I'm doing alright, though I am a little sore from my last fight. B's Chunin groaned as the man smiled. Nice rhymes, little dude, but nobody beats me when I'm in the mood. B flashed Naruto a smile and jumped back to his team just before the wall opened up and the Kazekage came out flanked by 3 nin to explain the rules. Kakashi took out the greatest thing since, well, the last Icha Paradise, and tuned him out. He only read a couple pages when the ceiling opened up and a large screen descended before flashing. As it landed on the names of 2 fighters, the green-haired ninja announced, "The first fight shall be between Omoi of Kumo and Hyuga Neji. Will both fighters please report to the arena?" Kakashi couldn't hear what was being said by the Kumo team because of Guy's exuberance, but he heard Neji clearly. "It seems fate has smiled on me today. I shall make sure to take advantage of this opportunity." The dark-skinned boy was hit by his equally dark teammate before coming down to meet the Hyuga prodigy. "I feel bad for you. I would say it's nothing personal, but I'd be lying. Fate has ordained that I may get some measure of satisfaction." Omoi bit his lollipop and threw away the stick. "I don't know what your problem is, but I can't lose because I'll disappoint my sensei." The boy grabbed his head and began freaking out. "Oh man, if I lose then B-sensei will up my training. What if I become one of the strongest jounin in Kumo and he sends me on a mission I can handle? Or I become the Raikage and because of me we go to war. And then the world might get destroyed and I'll be to blame." Before he could go on a tangent, the proctor announced the match. The first match shall be Neji vs Omoi. Ready, begin. Neji rushed at the boy without activating his Byakugan, and when he was within 10 feet of the boy, Omoi spit out chunks of lollipop before making some hand signs. Ninpa, candy prison. The chunks grew and tried to surround the Hyuga as he activated his Kekai Genkai and shattered the crystals using the Juken. But Omoi was standing a good distance away with his katana drawn. "I know all about the Byakugan and I'm not stupid enough to engage you close range." Neji frowned before closing the distance, only to be stopped by a horizontal swipe before jumping back and throwing some shuriken, forcing Omoi to abandon his defensive stance to deflect them before trying again. Neji threw 4 kunai with explosive tags on them that detonated next to the Omoi, creating a cloud that blocked the audience's view of Omoi. When the smoke cleared, the Kumo Chunin was gone and Neji quickly pivoted before blocking a sword strike with a kunai as Omoi emerged from under a sand patch. Neji followed up, landing a glancing blow on the white-haired boy that left him holding his right side as he retreated. The Kumo Chunin held his sword in front of him as lightning gathered around his katana and bolts began to arc along the length, making Kakashi's visible eye widened. That's some advanced elemental manipulation for a Chunin, but he still has a long way to go. The lightning isn't concentrated enough and the metal should be vibrating at a higher rate, but it's still enough to easily cut clean through Neji. Said boy smirked as he charged again and sidestepped a slash of the lightning-enhanced blade before launching an offensive that left Omoi on his heels as he parried or dodged the strikes. Neji found an opening but hit a piece of loose rock that the sword user substituted with. When Omoi reappeared, he began some hand signs, Raiten, Jaibashi, and a web of lightning extended from his hands, forcing Neji to abandon his pursuit. But when he dodged, the web expanded and he fell to the ground screaming in pain. He managed to roll to the side, avoiding an overhead slash from Omoi's katana, and threw some smoke bombs to hide his recovers as he got to his feet. As soon as he had his footing, Neji pushed off and burst through the smoke as Omoi began a spin Kumo Ryu, Uragiri, cloud-style revere beheading. Neji stopped short of the spinning blade, but the Sharingan continued to pirouette before trying to take Neji's head off from behind with his follow-through, only for the Konoha to duck and land a palm strike to the other fighter's stomach. Amoy coughed up blood while he jumped away before forming more hand signs. Raiden, Raikou, as a lightning ball formed between his hands. The ball of lightning propelled towards Neji's feet, creating a smokescreen as he dodged, but Amoy threw several kunai that created an explosion after they landed around the Hyuga. Amoy cautiously approached as the smoke cleared and saw the Hyuga with his eyes closed and no veins. He sheathed his sword and breathed a sigh of relief, waiting for the proctor to call the match, as he was suddenly looking into white eyes and the body turned into a log. Amoy lifted his arms to block the barrage of strikes Neji threw at him before jumping back. He formed more seals as Neji charged before saying, "I surrender." The Hyuga scowled as he walked back to the balcony as Amoy massaged his arms with red dots visible all over them. Guy didn't celebrate his student's win and had a grim look on his face as he watched Neji ascend the stairs. When the boy rejoined his team, the board began flashing and the proctor announced the next fight. The second match shall be between Kankuro of Suna and Sai of Konoha. Will both fighters please report the floor? Kakashi was surprised to see excitement on Sai's face as he walked down to the floor, and the proctor started the match. The second match shall be Sai vs Kankuro. Ready, begin. Sai stood across from his opponent as his stomach was fluttering for an unknown reason and a smile made its way onto his face. "I told you we'd finish this cross-dresser. For some reason I can't wait to rub your face into the floor. Whatever, creep. You won't know what happened when you wake up in the hospital." The examiner started the match as Sai reached into his pouch and pulled out a scroll before channeling chakra into it, as at least 20 ink beasts emerged and surrounded the boy before he pocketed the scroll again. Kankuro managed to dodge the first few attacks before getting mauled by a tiger. The boy's neck turned around until it popped off and sent bone shot everywhere, dispelling most of the beasts as Kankuro emerged from the bandages on his back. The puppet rose from the ground before taking a defensive position in front of Kankuro as the remaining beasts charged. Sai was drawing furiously, and when his creatures were destroyed, several birds and snakes emerged from the scroll. Kankuro made a weird finger movement as holes appeared all over his puppet and kunai were launched, dispelling the ink beasts. He sent the puppet towards the pale artist as he scribbled onto another scroll, but the ink snakes merged into a medium-sized one that forced Kankuro to abandon his attack and recall his puppet as it split and pierced the snake from several angles. Sai turned into ink as poison bombs landed at his feet, and Karasu intercepted Sai's tanto with its arms crossed and two blades extended from its hand. It launched several senbon that Sai managed to dodge, but as he landed he was scratched by a kunai. Despite it not being a direct hit, Sai felt his vision getting fuzzy, so he pulled out a scroll, and an ogre about 17 feet tall emerged holding a 10-foot-long club that was as wide as a full-grown Akimichi. It blocked several projectiles with its club before slamming the weapon between Kankuro and the puppet, trapping the chakra strings under the blunt object. Sai blew the puppet up with several explosive kunai, and the ogre managed to grab a hold of Kankuro. The puppeteer struggled as the beast lifted him to its large mouth and swallowed him. The proctor was about to call the match when Sai collapsed and the ogre burst into ink, and the Sunajanan gasped for air on the ground before he stood up. The examiner gathered himself for a second before calling the fight. The winner of the second match is Kankuro of Suna. The boy limped up the stairs after gathering the shards of his puppet, not feeling like he won the match despite the result. There was an intermission as a squad of Chunin cleaned the arena and the fighters were served refreshments after Sai was taken to the infirmary to be given an antidote. It was almost a half an hour later when sand swirled in the middle of the arena and the proctor reappeared. The intermission is over and the matches will resume. The ceiling opened as the screen came down with names flashing. The third match shall be between Aburame Shino and Inuzuka Kiba. Will both fighters please report to the floor? The two teammates looked at each other grimly before Kiba extended his hand. "Let's give it our best and no hard feelings no matter what." Shino gave a curt nod and shook the outstretched hand. Of course, it would be illogical to hold a grudge after an exam fight. Kurenai put her hand on both of their shoulders. "Alright boys, it is unusual but not unprecedented for teammates to fight each other. I'll be rooting for you both. Now go show everyone why you guys are the best Shinon team in Konoha." Kakashi suppressed a snort before turning to regard Naruto when he sensed that the blonde was looking at him. "Kaka-sensei, what's the deal? Teammates shouldn't need to fight." "Naruto, it's part of the exam. The first two are set up to test teamwork, because if you don't work effectively with your Shinon team then you shouldn't be considered for a promotion. The third test is meant to measure your individual mettle. Even if you work effectively as a team you also shouldn't be considered for Chunin if the candidate's individual skills aren't up to par." Naruto huffed before frowning. "That's dumb, I don't want to fight Sakura-chan." The pink cat scowled at Naruto as he hastily waved his hands in front of his face, "Not because you're a girl or weak, Sakura-chan. I just want us both to get to the finals and become Chunin together. It's too bad Sai didn't make it though." The pink cat was mollified by his response before regarding the fight as the other two did the same just in time to see the announcer slash the air signaling the start of the fight. Kiba put Akamaru down before making a hand sign, Shikyaku no Jutsu, 4 legs technique. Kiba dropped down so he was resting on all fours as his fangs lengthened and his hair became feral. He exploded into motion but Shino was ready and dodged before lifting his sleeves as insects poured out. Kiba and Akamaru split up making Shino and his bugs divide their attention. He outpaced the insects and managed to save Akamaru before he was overrun and stuffed the dog into his gray hoodie. He pulled away from the bugs before turning and throwing a smoke bomb at them that made them act erratically. The dog ninja pivoted and rushed at his teammate before leaping into the air while spinning rapidly, Gotsuga, fang over fang. He burst through Shino as the Daljinon turned into a cloud of bugs but the insects couldn't get a hold on the rapidly spinning boy. Shino dropped down from underneath the balcony before throwing a kunai at Kiba. The dog user dodged, but when he was in mid-air Shino's insects flew off the kunai and tried to latch onto the two before Kiba substituted them with a piece of rock. Once he reappeared where the rock was he dropped his puppy before throwing it a food pill as his fur turned red and Naruto blurted out, "So that's why he's called Akamaru, I just thought Kiba was a little slow." Needless to say he was ignored as Shino watched Akamaru jump onto Kiba's back before the dog user formed a seal, Juujin Bunshine, man-beast clone. A puff of smoke engulfed them and when it cleared 2 Kibas were standing side by side. They split up and surrounded the bug user and began rapidly spinning Gotsuga. Shino was hit but once again was revealed to be a Mushi Bunshine, insect clone, but the bugs couldn't get a grip on the two. The Kibas stopped and sniffed deeply before one bombarded a sandy patch with exploding kunai as Shino emerged from the one next to it. The two put the bug user between them before using the Gotsuga to attack from both directions. It appeared they were about to hit when Shino threw something onto the ground before substituting with a piece of the floor knocked loose earlier in the fight. When the two drills were in his former position the black dots on the floor let loose a noxious cloud that had the Kibas throwing up violently as one turned into Akamaru. Shino pushed his sunglasses up, "You shouldn't always enhance your sense of smell in a fight. I originally gathered those because they are useful for throwing off tracking, but since I knew you always have chakra into your nose when fighting me it was logical to use them now." Winner Aburame Shino. The bug user walked to the balcony as Kiba was put on a stretcher and brought to the infirmary to try to treat him and his puppy. Once Shino rejoined his team the board started flashing again as he noticed Hinata glaring at Sakura. The 4th match shall be between Kurove Kumo and Haruno Sakura. Will both fighters please report to the arena floor? The red-headed Kumo Jinan hopped over the railing and Sakura was about to follow suit when a hand landed on her shoulder. She turned to see the smiling face of her favorite blonde and fought down a blush at their closeness. "Good luck Sakura-chan." She smiled at him before responding, "I'm insulted that you think I need luck for this Naruto." The blonde chuckled as she hopped the rail and landed facing her opponent. The redhead was scowling as she fingered her katana. "I was hoping to fight someone worthwhile to prove my strength, but it seems I'll have to wait because I'll be fighting Miss Pony Princess from Konoha." Sakura grit her teeth while her brow twitched. "Whatever you dumb bitch. You'll be a laughingstock in Kumo once people find out you lost to a Miss Pony Princess. I'll break your ugly face." Hopefully it makes it look better because if it was any worse people would turn to stone when you looked at them. The proctor jumped in before the steaming redhead started unofficially. The 3rd match is Sakura vs Kuro. Ready begin. Sakura jumped back and blocked Kuro's kick and the Kumo Jinan used her arm for leverage and pushed herself into the air before trying to hit the pink hit with an X kick. Sakura jumped back while dropping a poison bomb forcing Kuro to hold her breath when she landed. Sakura launched a barrage of senbon forcing the redhead to retreat. When Kuro finished dodging the projectiles she unsheathed her katana before charging Sakura. The pink hit retreated while peppering Kuro with senbon to keep the aggressive girl at a distance. "You sure are good at running away. Why don't you stop being a coward and actually fight?" Sakura snorted, "Please, I'm not a moron like you. Why would I get close when you're swinging around a glorified butter knife?" Naruto cheered as Sakura fought down a blush. "Yeah Sakura-chan, tell that Ugo what's up. You're 100 times better looking and more talented than she is. I bet she's just jealous. Kick her scrawny ass." The Kumo Kunoichi let out a scream before charging once more. The senbon Sakura heaved went through Kuro and she turned and clapped her hands together halting the sword as blood ran down her hands. She delivered a brutal kick to the Kumo Kunoichi's stomach before her hands were shrouded in green and the cuts closed. "So you're a medical ninja? I'll have to find out whether or not you can heal yourself if you don't have a head." Sakura responded by forming seals, ninpa, dokagiri. She exhaled a purple cloud at the redhead who ran to the left while pulling out a scroll. Once she unrolled it, water came pouring out of it while she formed seals, sutin, mizutipo, water gun. A water bullet was launched at Sakura, and when it hit her she turned into a log and Karu was hit in the thigh with a senbone. She tried to jump away and avoid the follow-up but didn't get very far because she couldn't move her left leg. Kuro made a desperate horizontal slash trying to stop Sakura from getting closer, but the kunoichi dropped to her knees and leaned back as she slid between Kuro's legs and tapped her calf and hamstring with glowing palms as the redhead fell to the floor. Sakura heard cheerleaders and looked up to see Naruto had summoned several clones and henched them into his sexy no jutsu with red miniskirts, tube tops with Sakura's face printed on them, and pink and white pom-poms. Sakura, you're the best, there's no way you'll lose to the rest. Sakura fought down the urge to strangle Naruto as she slowly made her way towards Kuro with her hands glowing while the girl backed away rapidly. I surrender. Just stay away from me. Sakura stopped her advance as the proctor announced her victory. The winner of the fourth match by forfeit is Haruno Sakura. The pinkette tried to look tough but failed horribly when she blushed upon hearing Naruto. Yeah, Sakura-chan. That's the way to kick ass. You're the best. She lowered her head and made her way to the blonde before smashing him on the head. Naruto, don't embarrass me like that or I'll really make you regret it. The boy lay on the ground with a swirl in his eye but quickly hopped to his feet when the next match was announced. The fifth match shall be between Uzumaki, Naruto and Rock Lee. Will both fighters please report to the floor? Naruto swore to himself while Lee went on a rant. Yosh, I get to fight one of my eternal rivals already. Guy-sensei, truly I am blessed to have this chance to prove that I am a splendid ninja. Guy gave his clone a nice guy pose. Lee, burn with the flames of youth as your hot-blooded passion drives you to victory. I give you permission to do whatever you must to fulfill your dream. The strange boy's eyes sparkled before the two embraced as a beach with crashing waves and a setting sun in the background. The spectators tried to erase the image burned into her memory as Tamari said to her brothers, I always wanted to go to a beach, but after witnessing that I think it could trigger flashbacks and I never want to see that again. Kankuro nodded. Yeah, there's no way that Blonde Runt is going to lose to anyone here if he beat Gaara in the fucking desert of all places. Baki's one visible eye widened. What? Are you saying that's the kid that beat Gaara? He doesn't look like much. Gaara spoke in a monotone. Uzumaki, Naruto is strong, he will never give up no matter the odds, and that is why he won. He didn't quit when I gave up all hope. The boy said no more as they focused on the two on the field. Naruto-kun, let us have a splendid match. I feel you should know that I will not be holding back one bit. Naruto didn't respond and took a defensive stance, and when the proctor's hand chopped through the air the spectators' chins hit the handrail as Lee disappeared in a burst of green and threw a jab that pushed Naruto back as he blocked by crossing his arms. The blonde hopped back dodging a right hook before stepping forward and hitting Lee's tricep with his left palm and tried to take Green Boy's feet out with a sweeping kick. The strange Shinon just went with a spin before jumping over the extended foot and launching a kick at Naruto, forcing the boy to break off the engagement. So it looks like you already took your weights off. Lee frowned. No, I didn't, but my teammates forced me to lower the amount I was wearing during the test because I would dehydrate quicker and use too much water. Naruto cursed as Lee charged again and couldn't get away fast enough and was forced to engage the green machine in taijutsu again. He blocked the first couple jabs before launching his own left that Lee deflected. He went with the motion and jumped doing a barrel roll and tried to hit Lee in the neck with his right foot but was blocked as the guy clone turned to face the blonde and counter only to block another jab with his forearm before jumping back to avoid the follow-up kick aimed at his stomach. Naruto jumped back as Lee did, grateful for the space before launching several waves of shuriken at Lee, slowing his halt before beginning some hand seals, Fuuten, Daitapa. Lee couldn't advance through the harsh wind and was forced to retreat when kunai with burning tags wrapped around the handles. The projectiles picked up speed from the winds and Lee was forced to deflect them with several kunai of his own. The dark-haired boy was forced to take evasive maneuvers after Naruto launched several guko at him through the explosions. He managed to dodge and close the distance, but when Lee was about to strike, the blonde formed a seal and said Fuuten. Sensuguaki. Lee managed to retract his fist before the cuts went too deep, but blood was visible on his bandages. The boy was starting to breathe heavily as Guy's voice echoed throughout the room. Lee, in a youthful match such as this you must give it your all and harness your fiery passion. Take them off, Lee. Lee saluted. Asu, thank you Guy-sensei. He jumped back as the man gave a nice guy pose with light pinging of his teeth. When Lee landed he started to take off his weights as Naruto charged. Damn, I can't let him get those things off. Things will get a lot harder after because I haven't reactivated mine to get used to the speed. I'll have to try to take advantage of the awkwardness once he takes them off. The blonde wasn't fast enough as Lee dropped his weights, which made a considerable dust cloud even though they were lighter than usual. Naruto tried to feint hoping Lee would overextend, but the boy moved as gracefully as ever and grabbed his arm before delivering a punishing left hook that left Naruto reeling as the boy followed up with a foot to the chin, launching the blonde into the air. The boy made a seal and called on the Sensugaki again to cut the bandages that were surrounding him before they tightened and trapped him. Naruto then made a shadow clone to push off of putting some distance between him and Lee. Naruto could only see a green blur as he reached into his pouch. He took a hit but was able to slap a piece of paper onto Lee's wrist as the boy fell to the ground and was unable to move. "Ha, I got you with a resistance seal. Fuuinjutsu kicks ass. Go me, I'm the best, nobody can top me. It doesn't matter how much you move, Lee, because each motion is met with resistance that equals the force you put out. The harder you try, the stronger it is." Lee looked crestfallen. "Naruto-kun, how could you? We were having such an intense and youthful battle. There is no honor in winning like that." Naruto gave Lee a confused look. "Well duh, we're fucking ninja, Lee. No honor among shinobi. We do what we must to win and survive a fight." Guy voiced his opinion. "He is right, Lee, but like a true ninja you also have a trump card. Use it, Lee, the conditions are met. You must defend your dream." The man's mini-me nodded and his muscles appeared to strain against his skin as chakra exploded around Lee. Kaimon Kai, gate of opening release. The seal tag flew off Lee as if it were a piece of paper while the sand around his feet was blown around the room. Kakashi stared hard at Guy as Lee began circling Naruto at high speeds. "You taught a Jonin how to open the Hachimon, 8 inner gates. That's irresponsible, even for you." Guy never took his eyes off the fight as Lee knocked Naruto around like a rag doll. "I never expect you to understand, Kakashi, but I'll do anything to help Lee achieve his dream and become a splendid ninja." As he finished talking, Lee knocked Naruto into the ground before using the second gate, Kumin Kai, gate of healing release. He was even faster and kicking the blonde's ass twice as hard as before. Naruto couldn't do anything but get his face knocked in and had enough. "Fuzzy, give me some chakra, and if it's too much I'll put you in a genjutsu that will make you want to gouge your eyes out with your tails." He thought he heard a growling, then felt himself re-energize as a thin veil of red chakra surrounded the blonde before dissipating as his one eye turned red with slit pupils and whisker marks darkened just a little as killing intent filled the room, making the ninja gasp. The Konoha Jonin were looking at their sensei with questioning looks and getting ignored because they were giving concerned looks towards the Kazekage and Killer Bee as they leaned in closer to observe the fight. Lee burst into action after he got over the killing intent and once again circled around Naruto, creating a wall of dust around the red-eyed Jonin before he tried to attack from behind. To his surprise, Naruto blocked the attack by grabbing his right fist before delivering a brutal punch to his jaw. Lee would have gone flying, but Naruto's grip held strong and it felt like his arm was almost ripped from its socket. The green Jonin was getting beaten by a barrage of punches before he managed to block one and land a strike of his own in Naruto's stomach. Lee felt fatigue setting in and opened the third gate, Simon Kai, gate of life release. He exploded into action, and to most people in the room they appeared to be blurs, only reappearing briefly as after images where they met in a momentary deadlock. Kakashi decided to reveal his Sharingan to observe his students form and see how to improve it. He and Guy were the only two from Konoha able to follow easily, along with Bee and the Kazekage. Asuma's cigarette fell from his lips while he barely followed the two, and Kurenai managed to get over her shock and speak, "Wow. Those two are easily fighting at high Jounin level speeds." Guy nodded as Kakashi answered, "That may be true, but the fight has gotten a lot sloppier. I know Naruto has never moved this fast before, and you can't practice using a kinjutsu, so I'm sure this is new to Lee as well. It's kind of funny actually. They're fighting like academy students if you really look at their form." Kakashi was interrupted as Lee called out Shoman Kai, Toman Kai, gate of pain release, gate of closing release. The silver-haired Jounin stared at Guy. "How many gates can this kid open?" The sublime beast's face took on a grim look. 5. The three Konoha Jounin looked aghast at that, but no one could comment because red chakra exploded out of Naruto, forming a red shroud around him. Ino looked at Sakura confused, spit it out forehead. "How can Naruto, the dead last, do that? I mean, Lee is using the Hachimon thing. Naruto's chakra looks nothing like that and is really scary." Sakura looked just as bewildered as Ino. I don't know, I've never seen him do this. Do you know what this is, Kaka-sensei?" The man ignored her question as he focused on the fight, as it became apparent that the temporary boost granted by the Kinjutsu came nowhere close to matching near limitless power of the Kyuubi. Lee was smashed into the wall and was getting pushed back by Naruto's relentless assault. Guy's pupil managed to get a blow in and put some distance between him and the glowing Chunin. Naruto formed a cross-shaped seal and his voice came out deeper, "Gage Bunshine no Jutsu." The room was filled with Narutos as they surrounded Lee from every direction, blocking the audience's view as half the clones transformed into Fuuma Shuriken that the other half launched at Lee. Shiho Happo Shuriken from all sides. The Chunin had nowhere to go and couldn't use a jutsu, and Tenten let out a panicked scream, "He's going to kill Lee, stop the fight." Sakura gripped the rail tighter as the wall of death got closer to Lee before the Shuriken transformed back into Naruto clones and dogpiled on top of the spandex-wearing teen. Once he was no longer visible under the clone pile, Naruto launched a Guku that was 5 times the size of Kuji when he used his Baika no Jutsu. The blast blew through the mass of clones as it drove Lee into the wall. His eyes closed and he slid down the wall and landed in a heap on the floor. Naruto was breathing heavily and managed to drag himself back up to the catwalk as the proctor called the match. "The winner is Uzumaki Naruto. Will a medic team report to the arena?" He stopped to survey the arena and sweat dropped. "We will have another intermission while the arena is repaired and resume the matches when they are over." Naruto ignored the questioning looks he was receiving, trying to deflect the inevitable question. It was Ino who said what was on everyone's minds though. "Naruto, what was that?" That was just crazy." Naruto didn't look at her as he answered, "Well, I'm actually one of the last of the Uzumaki clan, and that was a clan Fuuin jutsu that stores and concentrates the chakra, making it more powerful." It appeared to mollify most of the Chunin, but Sakura was frowning at him and Shikamaru looked like he wasn't buying it. Naruto's crush leaned forward and put her cherry lips next his ear and he whispered, "You can't lie to me, Naruto. You will tell me the truth later or there will be pain. Lots of pain." Naruto shuddered, gulped and ignored the threat as the Chunin finished the jutsu to repair the walls and floor. The proctor reappeared as the board came down while names flashed. "The 6th match shall be between Shikamaru Nara and Tenten of Konoha. Will both fighters please report to the floor?" Tenten hopped over the rail as Shikamaru sighed and slouched. "Troublesome, why do I have to fight a woman?" Tenten's eyebrow twitched as Shikamaru lazily dragged his feet and stood opposite of her almost 2 minutes later. She growled while pulling out several kunai from her pouch and holding them in front of her as Shika stood with his hands in his pocket. "I wish we were outside so I could see the clouds." He missed the start of the match and barely avoided the 6 kunai before throwing down a smoke bomb onto the ground. He set up his shadow to ensnare the weapon mistress, but when she burst through the smoke like he expected, the kunoichi nimbly twisted and avoided his extended shadow that he had waiting on the other side. He deflected more kunai, but they came up from the ground after they fell as he saw the glint of wires and smiled. She cut the lines and pulled out a bow staff before throwing it at him like a spear. Shika dodged while sweat dropping. "Who throws a bow staff? What's she up to?" She disappeared in a poof of smoke as he saw the staff she threw, and he turned and caught the leading kunai before using it to deflect the rest. Tenten was forced to abandon her next move as a string of shadow came from her right, but when she landed the kunoichi she had to jump again to avoid the second shadow that came from her left. She wiped her brow before pulling out several spiked balls the size of her head. "Eat this." She threw the balls, and when Shikamaru heard a sizzling he mumbled, "Troublesome." The balls exploded around him, but her bow staff splintered and flew everywhere as she dodged another shadow. "You're just a one-trick pony. You just run and try to use the same jutsu over and over. My sensei is a nut, there's no way that slow shadow can catch me. I think it's time I end this," Shikamaru mumbled under his breath. "Women. All they do is nag, complain, and demean you. They're such a drag." Tenten placed 2 scrolls on the ground before swiping her bloody thumbs over the seals as 2 smaller scrolls rose up and twirled around Tenten as 2 smoke dragons formed and the bun-haired girl jumped between them yelling "Sashoryu, twin rising dragons." She summoned a mass of weapons that Shikamaru avoided with liberal use of Kawamiri and Bunshine. The girl landed and smiled before lifting her hands, but when the kunoichi tried to follow through and bring the weapons up for a second attack she found herself unable to move. She looked up against her will to see Shikamaru standing with his hands in the rat seal. "I saw the wires attached to the weapons. No matter how small they are, the wires still create shadows, and I was able to use them to connect to your shadow. Now the way I see it, there are lots of pointy things on the ground right now, so either give up or you'll end up hurt by your own weapons." If Tenten could have, she would have grit her teeth, but she was unable to move as she managed to get out a muffled, "I surrender." The shadow receded as the examiner called the match. "The winner by forfeit is Nara Shikamaru." Tenten was gathering her weapons so the next match could start while Sakura used the opportunity to gloat. "Ha pig, I'm already in the finals and it looks like you still have a lot of strong people left that you could fight. Not like it really matters because anyone here could beat you." Ino glared at her rival, Sure Foreheadus Maximus. But if I'm lucky you'll have to fight twice and I can just kick your ass, that should be easy enough. Yeah right swine, even if I had no chakra and ninja tools I could still beat your snout in. As long as you don't hit me with that giant sledgehammer that is your forehead I'll be fine. The two girls were growling and glaring with their faces inches apart as lightning sparked between their eyes. Tenten returned to the balcony and began resealing the weapons as the board flashed. The next two fighters shall be Hyuga Hinata and Yamanaka Ino. Will both of you please report to the floor? Ha, I'll see you in the finals billboard bro. I can't wait to beat that forehead of yours in with an audience. The shy girl was already waiting on the floor when Ino got down and confidently took her fighting stance while Hinata stuttered, I'm good luck Ino-chan. Let's do our best. The proctor stepped forward. The 7th match shall be Ino vs Hinata. Ready begin. When the proctor started the match Hinata rushed forward after activating her bloodline but was stopped by the sharp edge of a Tesen. Ino launched some shuriken forcing the Hyuga back before unwrapping the whip around her torso and cracking it while holding it in her left hand. Hinata stood just out of range before launching a barrage of kunai. Ino blocked them with her steel fan but heard sizzling and looked down to see Hinata had slid a kunai across the floor with an explosive tag wrapped on the handle. She jumped back and couldn't use her whip because the wide-eyed girl was too close, so she used her chakra to wrap the whip around her waist and pulled out her other Tesen. Ino saw what Neji did to the Kumo kid, so was retreating while keeping those dangerous fingers away with her sharp fans. She jumped back and threw some kunai at Hinata. After dropping the fan she folded and kicking it back. She retrieved her fan while trying to dishearten the meat girl. You've gotten better Hinata, but you were always ranked behind me in class. I won't let you get close and eventually you could end up getting hurt. I don't want to injure you, so you'd be better off just giving up. To her surprise Hinata gave Ino an icy glare and sounded angry as she spoke without a stutter. I don't think I need to do that. I can already tell by the way that you are holding yourself that it's hard for you to move like this. You are constantly running chakra through your muscles and they aren't conditioned enough to handle the strain. It seems you haven't trained much and I need to get to the finals. I wanted to prove to myself that I could change and I won't back down because that is my nindo. She burst forward faster than Ino could match and managed to shut off some chakra points with her barrage of pokes but missed most of the ones she was aiming for. If you looked at Ino's grimace though it was easy to see they still hurt like hell. Ino unrolled her whip again and was able to keep Hinata at a distance with its supersonic speed. The Hyuga couldn't get close and when she did there was always the sharp metal edge or side of the fan to stop her attack in its tracks. The shy girl was beginning to get frustrated and Ino was taking advantage, but the blonde needed to do something quick. Her breaths were getting more rapid and she was dripping sweat. Even though Hinata couldn't get a decent strike in, the blonde was constantly on the defensive, unable to get an attack and while expending lots of energy, and if she slipped up once all the Hyuga needed was one good strike. She grit her teeth as Hinata once again came to close for her whip and the Yamanaka was forced to drop it because one fan was engaged blocking a palm and Hinata's index and middle finger hit Ino on the back of the hand holding the whip. Ino quickly drew her other fan and began to go on the offensive, trying to finish the fight before she had no energy left. Hinata let her attack while skillfully avoiding the deadly slashes but offering no counter. The pale-eyed girl dipped and weaved between Ino's desperate strikes, allowing the frantic girl to keep slicing with abandon. Hinata eventually landed a palm strike on the girl's thigh, forcing her to abandon her attack while trying to stand on one leg. The shy girl charged when Ino suddenly cut her ponytail and threw the blonde locks at the Hyuga that landed at Hinata's feet. She found herself unable to move and gasped when she focused on the strands. When Hinata used her bloodline on it she saw that there was chakra circulating through them, restraining her movement. Ino smiled at the Hyuga as she closed her eyes. The blonde formed some seals. I've got you now, Shintenshin no Jutsu, mind-body switch technique. She lined Hinata up in the circle she formed with her index fingers and thumbs before collapsing. The wide eyes of the Byakugan opened just as Ino launched her spirit and Hinata leapt in the air avoiding Ino's technique. She landed next to the limp body and the proctor declared her victory, winner by. Well, winner Hinata Hyuga. The quiet girl made her way up to the rest of her team while Asuma grabbed Ino's body and Naruto looked questioningly at his sensei. What happened? How did Hinata escape and why did Ino just suddenly fall over? I don't get what happened. Kakashi answered his student while watching the board flash. It's simple, Ino used the Shintenshin but was unable to capture Hinata because she broke the chakra flow in the hair. The Byakugan can see chakra flow and they are masters at the manipulation of chakra, so it was child's play for her to break it. Naruto nodded a couple times. That makes sense, but what the hell is Shintenshin? Kakashi smiled at his protege. Oh, that's easy. Naruto looked on in anticipation. It's a hidden jutsu of the Yamanaka clan, so it's a secret. Naruto face faulted and when he stood up he saw Tamari looking scared for some reason. It seemed strange to Naruto until he looked up and saw Gaara's name next to hers on the screen. Will Temari of Suna and Sabaku no Gaara report to the floor? Temari was giving Gaara a nervous look, and even though there were no death threats after his fight with her fellow blonde, it wasn't that long ago that he was a psychotic killer. She appeared to be about to give up when Gaara actually put a hand on her shoulder. She suppressed the shiver as Gaara spoke up, "Do not worry Temari, I will not hurt you. We are family." Everyone bearing the Suna emblem in the room looked shocked along with Sakura as Naruto smiled brightly at the redhead. Temari seemed to pull herself out of her stupor and walked down to the floor as Gaara disappeared in a swirl of sand. The proctor looked wary as he started the match while keeping his distance. The 8th fight shall be Gaara vs Temari. Ready, begin. Temari opened her fan and called out Kamaitachi. The people on the balcony had to cover their faces to block the sand stirred up by the fierce wind, but Gaara stood unperturbed as his sand protected him. Temari kept blasting him with wind blasts and he was wondering what she was up to. After all, she was very intelligent and knew that attacks like that would be useless against his automatic defense. Gaara was forced to break his line of sight when she called out Daikamaitachi no Jutsu, Great Sickle Weasel Technique. He knew something impacted his sand and was surprised when the concussion of explosive blasts exposed him for a second as she launched another Daikamaitachi that knocked him back. It managed to hit him but didn't break his Suna Yoroi, sand armor, and caused Gaara no harm because the sand reacted fast enough to prevent his impact with the wall. Gaara smiled at his eldest sibling. Not bad Temari, but not good enough. She looked down and saw she was standing on concrete, but it was surrounded by sand. She felt terror grip her and was sure that she was dead when Gaara called out Sabaku Soso, sand coffin, and Temari felt the sand crushing her, but after a moment she realized it wasn't that tight and felt more like an embrace as Gaara called out, "Do you surrender?" Temari managed a nod and the sand released her as they walked back. The two arrived on the balcony before the proctor remembered his duties. "I'm the winner by forfeit as Sabaku no Gaara." Temari was a little ashamed at how fast she lost. It's not like anyone else could match Gaara that long except Naruto, and maybe that Lee kid. The Kazekage gave a subtle signal that the proctor picked up and blinked twice, quickly confirming he understood. The board flashed as he did some stretches before it finally settled on two names. After making sure he had them right, he announced, "The competitors in the next fight shall be Samui of Kumo and Akimichi Kuuji." Will both fighters report to the arena floor? The blonde's facial expression never changed as she stretched her lower back, giving the hormonal teens a free show while walking. Her competitor seemed to be more interested in finishing a bag of chips than the fleshy mounds staring him in the face as he tipped the bag to get all the crumbs from the bottom. He crumpled the bag and tossed it over his shoulder before licking his lips and taking a fighting stance. The blonde only rested her right hand on the handle of the tanto, resting horizontally across her lower back. When the proctor signaled the start, the Akimichi formed a hand sign, Baika no Jutsu, before ballooning to ridiculous proportions as his stubby arms and legs retracted into his fleshy torso and chakra propelled him into a rolling ball of fat. Samui dodged and noticed the ball couldn't maneuver that well. Kuuji took a wide turn and lined the blonde up again, but this time when Samui dodged, she dropped a burning explosive note that blew up and sent the ball careening into the wall as he shrunk to normal size with swirls in his eyes. The icy blonde charged him, but he recovered from his position as he used the Bubun Baika no Jutsu to extend his arms before clapping them, forming a sonic boom that halted the blonde. He pulled out two wires with kunai and strapped them over his body before using the multi-size technique, calling out Nikuden Hari Sensha, spiked human boulder. Samui finally changed facial expressions when she raised an eyebrow and barely dodged the dangerous technique. She turned and her eyes widened when she saw the boy was about to hit her. The icy blonde didn't have enough time to dodge and was partially struck by the technique as blood flowed freely from a gash in her side. She grit her teeth while watching the spinning fat kid. "This is bad, I'm losing blood fast and he's way faster and turns tighter than before. I have to end this now." Samui watched as Kuuji came rolling at her like a juggernaut as she formed seals, Raiten, Hiraishin, lightning rod. Lightning sparked around her body, forming a shield, and when the Akimichi was close enough, it arced from her body onto the kunai and traveled down the wire as Kuuji's technique ended and his body started smoking as he was electrocuted. Samui continued the jutsu, wanting to finish the match now, when a trench knife surrounded by wind whipped in front of her face, breaking the flow of lightning chakra between them and cutting off some strands of her hair. She was staring at the angry face of Sarutobi Asuma before her sensei jumped in front of her protectively. "Don't be a fool, you know what not to do. Nothing permanent happens, so no use for snapping." The ridiculous rap cooled the rising tension as medics escorted Kuuji to the treatment room, and Asuma quickly followed with a worried look on his face. Shikamaru and Dino looked like they were about to leave as well when Kurenai stopped them. "You can't leave because you'll be disqualified." Win or lose, you are still eligible to fight, so you must remain here. The proctor nodded as some Chunin began the jutsu to restore the concrete. She is correct, the damage wasn't too severe and will be repaired shortly. We will resume as soon as it is finished. The normally apathetic boy gripped the railing tighter as Enos and a concerned look to the wall that opened where the medics would enter and exit the room. There was a tense silence as most of the Konoha teams glared fiercely at the Kumo team as Omoi appeared to be fretting about something. Eventually his red-headed teammate slammed him into the wall as the ceiling opened once more. The Kazekage eyed it anxiously as Tamari's name came up again before the second one stopped on Nara Shikamaru. The sandy blonde smiled and jumped to the arena floor. Alright, this slacker shouldn't be too much trouble. Shikamaru sighed, what a drag. I would have to fight twice, maybe I should just forfeit. He was violently pushed over the railing by his blonde teammate after voicing his thoughts. Don't you even think about it, you slacker. If you don't win this one too, then nobody from Team 10 will be in the finals. Shikamaru sighed as he stood up and faced the smirking blonde. Man, this sucks. Not only do I have to fight twice, but it's against two troublesome women. I thought I could just relax and watch some clouds after my first fight too. Tamari's eyebrow was twitching as she turned to the proctor. Start the match so I can beat this lazy bum down. The proctor started the match, then Naruto started cheering. Come on Tamari, kick that bum's ass. Make him actually do something. Sakura's eyes were wide as she grabbed Naruto and violently shook him. Why are you rooting for that slut? She's fighting one of our classmates. Naruto managed to answer without biting his tongue off. Because Shikamaru probably doesn't want to win anyway. It would be too much work. Sakura was forced to drop the blonde as a gust of wind knocked Shika into the wall and she had to close her eyes because of the force. The boy groaned but discreetly formed a seal and sent a shadow at Tamari from behind. She backflipped over it as the shadow user recovered and the two faced off. Tamari looked around, keeping an eye out for shadows, and burst into motion, dancing around the tendrils before turning and opening her fan slightly, launching a wave of wind forcing Shikamaru to drop his technique. He threw several kunai and shuriken that were deflected by wind and sent his shadow out to capture Tamari once again. She dodged but landed too close to the shadow made by the balcony and had to substitute to avoid the follow-up. Shikamaru was breathing heavily as she started her counter, and he couldn't do much except dodge the blasts and use chakra to hold onto the floor when he couldn't get out of the way. He wrapped two tags with a strange seal printed on them around kunai and charged chakra into them. He charged and used the two blades trying to disembowel Tamari, but was hit with the closed fan in the stomach, knocking him back, forcing him to drop a kunai. He stood up holding his stomach as he tossed the kunai behind him and watched as the blonde charged him. The two tags ignited, began to glow white, extending his and Tamari's shadows, making it easy to connect them. He smiled, but it quickly disappeared when Shika saw her turn into her fan, and he felt a punishing punch land in his kidney. He fell to the ground calling out, "I surrender." The proctor called the match, and when Shikamaru got back up to the balcony he got chewed out by Ino. "What was that, you lazy bum? Now no one in our team is in the finals. Oh man, we have to work twice as hard and get way stronger. I'm tired of being weak." The boy put a pinky in his ear and cleaned it out. "Troublesome. I tried my best, but I was at a disadvantage. I'm still low on chakra from the last test and my other fight. To top it off, it was a bad matchup. I had nowhere to go to avoid those wind blasts." He gave the Suna team a suspicious glance. That match was hers to lose, that's for sure. Kakashi smiled at Shikamaru. "He's pretty quick. All the host countries will tweak the exams so they look better. In fact, the last prelims happened in Konoha and the Hokage handpicked all the matches even though they were supposedly random. As long as there is plausible deniability, then everyone looked the other way." The proctor signaled the next match should start as the board flashed once more. When it stopped, Naruto turned and gave Neji a hard stare. "Will Hyuga, Neji and Uzumaki Naruto please report to the floor?" Naruto walked behind Neji, trying to remember what he saw in the last fight in Hinata's. "Let's see, the Byakugan has 360-degree vision and allows the user to see and attack the chakra network. I haven't seen him use a jutsu and Hinata didn't either. I should keep my distance, but that sounds easier said than done." The proctor began the match and Neji smirked as the veins around his eye bulged. "I'm surprised that you were able to defeat Lee, but he is almost as much of a failure than you. I'm a true prodigy and I'll show you that your fate is to be a loser for the rest of your life." Naruto stared into the fierce white eyes. "I've been fighting fate since day one, but you've given up and accepted it. I think that makes you the loser here." Neji scowled and charged but halted when Naruto formed a seal and called out Fuuten, Sensuguaki. The Hyuga stayed just beyond the swirling wall of sharp wind and attacked as it fell, only for Naruto to poof into a log. Neji didn't seem surprised and jumped to the left, avoiding a Guko before throwing smoke bombs around Naruto. He charged in and all the crowd could hear was Naruto scream out, but Neji was the one who went flying out of the smoke. The Hyuga charged but the Naruto he was running at disappeared as he heard Fuuten, Daitapa. The wind came from behind the rushing Shinnon and pushed Neji even faster. The Hyuga channeled chakra to his feet trying to stop his momentum but he barely slowed before he smashed into the wall creating a smoke cloud. He jumped out with some bruises and his clothes were tattered only to see 24 Naruto clones looking at him. The arrogant boy smirked, "Those clones of yours are annoying, but you can't hide from my eyes." The boy rushed the clones avoiding their attacks before hitting the one in the far back with a palm strike. He watched Naruto fall as the clones dispersed before his eyes widened and he was hit by a brutal roundhouse kick and was launched into another wall after the blonde emerged from the ground. Naruto quickly followed up with some explosive kunai, but as the blasts rang out he had to cross his arms in front of his face as he turned and blocked the chakra-filled palm that was heading toward his right lung. Neji put some space between them to avoid the blonde's counter and scowled, "He has a lot of chakra. Most people would have some chakra points closed from an area attack like that but he has too much chakra flowing through his coils. I'll need precision to shut his network down." Neji crouched low and held his middle and index fingers together as the tips glowed blue. He exploded moving faster than he had shown so far and Naruto was hard-pressed to avoid the furious attacks as he tried to keep his distance. The Hyuga was hurting the blonde though and when Naruto tried to step back he found there was no ground underneath his foot and fell onto his back into a hole made by one of his jutsu. He cursed and raised his hands and felt sharp stinging sensations all over his palm before he was able to get his feet back under him and retreat. Surprisingly Neji didn't bother to pursue and smirked. "You should just give up. I've closed the chakra points in your hands so it is impossible for you to perform jutsu. It's like I told you it was your fate to lose here just like it will be your fate to be a failure for the rest of your life." Naruto growled, "I don't know and I don't care why you have a stick shoved up your ass. You can give up and accept whatever life throws your way, but I won't do that. All my life I've been looked down on and ignored for something I didn't do or could control. I've lived my life as the lowest of the low but I won't settle for that. I'll go from the lowest part of society right to the top because I'm Uzumaki Naruto and I don't go back on my word." The arrogant smirk only got wider throughout the speech. "That's rich, one a failure always a failure. If you think that you can change fate then show me." "Oh that's right I took away your ability to do jutsu. You have no chance." Naruto's left hand came up and grabbed his headband, "I already told you I never give up. I think I should stop holding back. I'm going to show you that fate is bullshit." Naruto raised his headband as everyone watching gasped and Neji took a stance, "So you're going to beat me by using a stolen dojutsu? Like a loser could use that eye effectively." Naruto growled, "I didn't steal this eye, Sasuke gave it to me to help me achieve my dream. Besides you're such a bastard that I know that he'd want to kick your ass if he was still around. I figured the least I could do is let him watch as I kick your ass all over the floor." The two sized each other up as the Konoha contingent looked on with gaping mouths as Kiba managed to get out, What the hell? How does Naruto have a dojutsu?" Sakura's face fell so Kakashi spoke up as everyone gave him their attention. Naruto lost his eye when fighting Zabuza's apprentice, and when the medics couldn't treat Sasuke he gave his Sharingan to Naruto to replace it. Kiba's mouth was still hanging open. "I don't get it, I thought those two hated each other." Sakura found her voice. Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other like brothers. They may have argued, but they cared for each other in a unique way. The Jonin turned their attention to the match as the two fighters stopped talking and Neji charged Naruto. The blonde stayed just out of reach and avoided all Neji's strikes. Eventually as the rookie got closer to the wall he stepped inside a palm strike and pushed the other one wide before headbutting the Hyuga and jumping over him flipping and turning in midair to face him. Neji grabbed his nose and gave Naruto a dirty look. Naruto returned it by giving the former Rookie of the Year a cocky smile as Neji burst into motion. Naruto could see every attack before it was happening and was knocking them all aside or expertly dodging before the dangerous fingertips could hit him. The Sharingan user shifted his head to the left and stepped in while grabbing the Hyuga's right arm with his left and delivered a brutal jab into Neji's stomach before pivoting on his right foot and spun around Neji and tried to knock him out. Neji ducked and jumped back while spinning to face Naruto. The blonde smirked as a whirlwind appeared around him and when it dispelled he was gone. Neji looked everywhere trying to locate him before focusing his vision. Doing that didn't allow him to see 360 degrees but most genjutsu would become transparent if he focused his vision on them. The Hyuga pretended to look to the left of the blonde as he attacked, but stopped and pivoted before launching a palm strike at the blonde's ribcage before Naruto could attack. Naruto reappeared before grabbing Neji's wrist and threw him over his shoulder. The two glared at each other before charging towards the other once more. Lee came back to the arena just as the two met and was awed. Naruto was making Neji look like an amateur. The blonde was faster than Neji and the Sharingan's predictive capabilities allowed Lee's newest rival to keep the Hyuga at bay. Amazing, Naruto was completely incompetent at Taijutsu and incredibly slow 4 months ago, yet here he is making Neji lose his cool. It's amazing how he's improved so much. I shall need to try twice as hard. Tenten was giving Lee a concerned look as he clenched his fists. The green Janon's head was lowered and he was shaking. Don't worry Lee, that match with Naruto could have gone either way, don't get down on yourself. The brunette was surprised when Lee lifted his head and revealed a look of excitement. Truly Naruto was an excellent choice for my eternal rival. I'll have to train twice, no 3 times as hard so I can keep pace with his rapid improvement. Tears streamed down Guy's face as he regarded his protege. Lee, your flames of youth truly burn bright. To use your previous defeats to stoke your passionate blood into a frenzy and get inspired to reach new heights. Tenten's fist collided with the strange duo's heads before they could get caught up in another youth session. Will you two stop goofing off and watch the fight? Guy's face became serious. You are right Tenten, however this fight is over. Neji's strikes are getting less controlled and he is being controlled by anger. Eventually he will make a mistake, and the Sharingan will allow Naruto to take full advantage of it. Everyone turned their attention back to the fight and realized the green beast was right. Neji's blows were getting sent wide and he was wasting energy with every strike. Eventually he overextended his palm and Naruto grabbed the right wrist and twisted it until it was behind Neji's back and pinned the unfortunate boy to the floor while keeping him in the submission hold. The Hyuga tried to get away but Naruto had an iron grip and kept twisting Neji's arm until he was forced to surrender before Naruto ripped his shoulder out of the socket. The winner of the final match by forfeit is Uzumaki Naruto. If the fighters that advanced will please report to the floor for the finals bracket. Gaara, Sakura, Kankuro, Shino, Samui, Temari, and Hinata joined Naruto on the floor and turned their attention to the cage. The previous 2 proctors walked to the front of the crowd carrying a box and wheeling a covered board. Once they settled in, the Hokage stood and addressed the finalists. Congratulations on making it this far. It is a credit to you, your villages, and respective sensei that you were able to overcome over 120 other competitors. Truly this is the cream of the crop and we are expecting an exciting final tournament. Now that I have your attention I would like to tell you why the Chunin exams were founded and the purpose that they serve. The Jonin stared at him in confusion but none dared interrupt the Namikaze Kage. You see, the exams were created as a substitute for war. Instead of large-scale battles between shinobi, we prove our strength by showcasing the up-and-coming talent to potential clients. You will be putting your lives on the line for the pride and future of your home village, so hold your heads high and fight with all your strength. The final tournament is in a month, giving you time to strategize and train while giving us time to send invitations to important officials. Now Itsuki, if you would. The bandaged man stepped forward holding a box after pulling the sheet off the board, revealing a bracket with 8 spots. In this box are 8 slips of paper numbered 1 through 8. 1 will fight 2 and 3 4 all the way through till 8. He walked up to Naruto, who was on the far right, and the blonde reached his hand into the box and withdrew a slip before announcing his number, 7. Hisako wrote Naruto's name in the first slot of the last match before Itsuki moved down the line and the rest of the Jonin drew numbers and were filled in on the board. The green-haired man stepped forward. My name is Daichi and I will be the judge for the 3rd exam. These are the fights that are scheduled. In the first match we have Haruno Sakura vs Hyuga Hinata. The 2 girls glared at each other from their spots on the floor as the proctor continued. Match 2 shall be between Sabaku no Gaara and Samui of Kumo. Match 3 shall be between Kankuro of Suna and Aburame Shino. And the competitors of the 4th match are Uzumaki Naruto and Temari of Suna. You have 1 month from today before your fights. Use this time wisely and prepare accordingly. We are expecting a good show for the spectators. The proctors disappeared in a large swirl of sand and the Kage was surrounded by a whirlwind of gold before disappearing. Sakura grabbed Naruto's arm and before she could pull him away, Temari stopped the two. Hey Naruto, I just want to say good luck and I look forward to showing you what I can do when we fight. Naruto gave his fellow blonde a cheesy grin. Of course, I'm bringing my best though, so you better get ready. Sakura was scowling and ready to get away from Temari, who took hold of Naruto's other arm, preventing the pinkette from doing just that. I was hoping that after we fight that you could accompany me to the festival and promotion party. The whiskered teen was about to respond when Sakura stepped on his foot, accidentally of course, and answered for him. Well, he'd love to, but we were already going to do that. Temari scoffed. I think you should let him talk for himself, unless you're scared he would agree. Before it could degrade into a catfight, Kakashi and Baki came to collect their students. Team 7 collected Sai, who was resting in the infirmary, before heading back to the hotel and entered the room. Kakashi turned and informed his students of the situation. "Alright, I want you guys to pack up because we're going to get lunch and then leaving. We have gotten permission for the finalists to train with a sensei in the Land of Rivers, while the rest of the Junon must return to Konoha before the ones attending travel back to see the finals. So pack up." And Rin said she'd get lunch for everyone at the gate, so let's hurry, we don't want to be late. Kankuro was walking up a set of stairs carved into a mountain just outside of Sunagakure proper. Tamari was getting trained by Baki, and Gar didn't need anyone to help him, but there were few puppeteers that were truly gifted in Suna, and most of them were against his family. The boy came to a large steel door carved into the mountainside before pushing it open. On the other side, a small old woman was perched on a large stalagmite holding a fishing rod, and a bent old man was playing mahjong. They lifted their heads to regard the visitor before the old man spoke. "It's been a while since we had visitors, isn't that right, Ne-chan?" The old woman gave Kankuro a hard stare. "That's right, Ebizo. We have removed ourselves from the affairs of the village, so why are you here?" Kankuro prostrated himself before the woman. "Chiyoba-sama, I Kankuro have come seeking your guidance in the art of Kugatsu no Jutsu. Puppetry technique." The short woman snorted. "Why should I teach you? I've retired and have come up here to live the rest of my days in peace." Kankuro was sweating bullets. Maybe I should have thought of something to say after asking for her help. The boy thought for several minutes before responding. "Please, Ba-sama, I need your help. You are one of the most revered puppeteers in Suna's proud history, and it would be an honor to learn from you and help preserve one of Sunagakure's oldest and most sacred arts." The woman stared unblinking at Kankuro until a fly landed on the back of her head and she limply fell into the pool. Kankuro was freaking out as Ebizo yelled, "Ne-chan, no. Oh god, you've died." The elder was about to break into tears when the surface of the water broke and Chiyo cackled, "Oh, I got you good that time, didn't I, Ebizo?" Kankuro stood with his mouth agape as her brother answered, "Hey, that was pretty funny, Ne-chan. You definitely had me that time." The aspiring puppet master was about to leave when Chiyo looked at him. "I guess I am getting awfully bored. If I don't have anything to do, Ebizo might start to get wise to my dead act. I'll train you for a month, but if you don't improve sufficiently, then I'll stop after the exams." "So you be," she suddenly submerged as Ebizo started freaking out once more. But she soon came up hooting as Kankuro's sweat dropped. "What did I just get myself into?" Rin led the Konoha group through the border town towards the largest restaurant in town, where they would meet several sensei for the finalists. They were drawing strange stares as they walked. It may have had something to do with the fact they were all shinobi, but everyone agreed it was Guy walking on his hands because Kakashi had 2 students in the finals and he had none. The motley crew entered the establishment and the Junon's eyes widened when they saw the people inside. Shibi Aburame stood in the back row but walked forward first. The bottom of his beige trench coat billowed as he strode toward his son. "It is good to see that you reached the finals, Shino. Come and I shall train you for the duration of the month." The boy walked forward without a word as the strange pair exited the building. Hiyashi stepped forward and looked down at his daughter and nephew. "Hinata, it pleases me that you have reached the finals, and Neji, there are always the Konoha exams to showcase your talents. I am sure the citizens will appreciate the demonstration of the Hyuga's power." Neji bowed. "Thank you, Hiyashi-sama." The stern man regarded his daughter. "Are you ready for your training, Hinata? I won't hold back, and I expect only the best." Hiyashi cast an eye at Hinata and was surprised that instead of avoiding his gaze by looking downward and hunching her shoulders, she stood straight while staring him in the eye. "Hayata-sama." The man let a small smile break his neutral mask. "Good. Oh, and Neji, you shall also accompany us. I feel that someone of your talent should receive some advanced lessons in Juken." The boy was wide-eyed as he followed father and daughter out of the restaurant. Rin grabbed Sakura's shoulders and pointed to the door, and she turned towards her team. "Good luck, guys. I'll see you in Suna." Naruto and Sai smiled before the blonde responded, "Thanks, Sakura-chan. Train hard. I'll see you in a month." Jiraiya grabbed Naruto's shoulder as she left, and Kakashi addressed Sai. "Okay, Sai, you'll travel back with the rest of the group and make the return trip with the Hokage and teammates of the other competitors. So we'll see you soon." The boy nodded and said goodbye. "I shall see you soon. Good luck, Naruto-kun." The blonde gave him the thumbs up before turning towards his 2 sensei. "Alright, let's do this. 500, 501, 502, 503. Kuro and Amoe were doing push-ups and supporting large bags of sand with their backs, while Killer Bee and Samui were sparring by the water. They were near an isolated beach in the southern part of Kaze no Kuni to train for the finals. Well, at least Samui was. Her dark-skinned teammates were being punished for embarrassing their sensei and possibly staining his glorious reputation that he spent years building. That's what Killer B said at least. Hey, you two, quit slacking. You failed after entering the tournament with my backing. When you two get to 1,000, run twice that in laps, also make sure you increase the number of bags. The two grown began doing push-ups at twice the pace as be regarded as blonde student. Alright Samui, let's see, your first opponent like me is a Jinchuriki. I don't think anyone expects you to win, but if you make a good showing, not getting promoted would be a sin. Samui wasn't fazed by the rapping, having grown used to it long ago, and nodded. I understand that I probably can't beat Gaara, but from what I saw observing his fights in the desert and prelims, it will take way more raw power or speed than what I have to even make him try. Her sensei nodded and started muttering to himself while scribbling in his notebook. He did that for a minute or so before putting the notebook away and addressed Samui. I know that you're my student after all, but you'll just have to trust my call. We have a little over 3 weeks, and I'll take you all to your physical peaks. For you Samui, I know just what to do. I think it's time to teach you a ninjutsu. The kunoichi nodded. What are you going to teach me? When you see what I want to teach you, it will be a surprise. I have no doubt that you won't believe your eyes. Hiyashi parried his nephew's rapid strikes before delivering a kick that knocked the boy back, and then he quickly spun to meet his daughter's attack. The two teenagers had made impressive strides in Juke in the last week and a half. Of course, it was expected of a prodigy like Neji, but his daughter's improvement surprised him. Her palm strikes were now filled with determination and focus. No longer was she holding back out of fear or hesitation, and the stern man was proud at how much she grew during the exams. The two coordinated well and rushed him from opposite directions, and to block or dodge the combination would have been impossible by normal means, so Hiyashi began spinning and released streams of chakra from various tenketsu over his body. Kaiden. The two younger Hyuga were to close and couldn't stop their attacks in time, so they collided with the rapidly spinning chakra sphere and were knocked back an impressive distance. Hiyashi took a relaxed stance and placed his hands into his sleeves and called off the Jinan. Enough, excellent job you two, the improvement I've seen is extraordinary. I think that you both have enough basic skills, so it is time to move on to more advanced techniques. Hinata, I will be teaching you the Kaiden as well as the Haki Sanjuni Sho, 8 trigrams 32 bombs. Neji, those techniques are meant for the main branch, so why don't you go over there and do something? I don't care, because I won't be paying any attention to you at all. In fact, I'd keep your Byakugan active and try to improve its range while I show Hinata the techniques. Neji bowed before following the order, leaving Hiyashi and his eldest child. I do not know what has triggered this change in you, daughter, but this new zeal has impressed me. I will no longer hold back when training you, and I expect you to put your all into everything that we do as well. Hinata nodded. Hayato-sama, I will do my best. After observing her posture for any hesitance, Hiyashi began. Excellent, we shall start with Kaiden and then move to the Sanjuni Sho. Now let us begin. Ebizo sat sipping tea and watched as his older sister toyed with her new pet project. Kankuro was trying to control 2 rocks with chakra strings, while Chiyo used 1 stone to leave bruises all over the aspiring puppet master. The boy was trying to put the legendary puppeteer on the defensive with an assault, and it was working to a degree, seeing as her rock couldn't get through his 2. However, he wasn't making any headway towards the elderly woman either. Suddenly Chiyo broke the stalemate and her stone slipped through a gap and was able to smash into Kankuro before the young puppeteer could get his rocks back in front of him. When he was able to stand, he saw the old crone giving him a disapproving frown. I don't know who trained you, but I do know that they were pathetic. Your rocks were far closer to me than mine was to you. If you were willing to risk taking damage there, you probably would have been able to hit me before my rock even got close to you. As a puppeteer, you must always be thinking ahead of your opponent, and because all it should take is 1 good shot, trading hits is a good thing for you as long as it's not a kill hit. Also, you said that you could easily control 1 puppet, but it takes 2 strings for you to move 1 rock. A good puppeteer should also be able to control 1 puppet with 1 finger. Why, when Sasori-chan was your age, he could control 5 puppets at a time. Kankuro growled and stood up, but before he could lift his 2 rocks, 1 was shattered and he had to shield his eyes as the rock shards ricocheted around the room, while Chiyo cackled. You crazy old bat, what the hell was that? One of those chips could have poked my eye out. Oh, shut up, boy. If that hurt you, I would have kicked your pathetic ass out of here after fixing you up. Now I want you to master moving this 1 rock with 1 string. And after you do that, we'll begin working on controlling 2 puppets with 1 hand while also controlling 5 rocks with your opposite hand. Ebizo finished his tea and shakily stood. Actually, young man, before you continue, I have something that I think would benefit you in your matches. The man shuffled inside a side room, and the elder came out. He was holding a small satchel. When he got next to Kankuro, the elder opened the sack, revealing that there was some sort of black sand inside. This is called black powder. We used to use it back in the old days before exploding tags became commonplace. The explosive potential from this is much higher than most tags, but at the same time it is more of a hassle to use. Kankuro looked at the bag. Thank you Ebizo-sama, but I can't use something like this. Father has ordered that no Junon be killed during the fights to promote goodwill between Konoha and Suna. Shio growled and muttered under our breath before she was able to be heard, not that I care about that man's orders, but you should be able to figure out a way to use that without killing your opponent. As a matter of fact, if you don't use the black powder in the finals, I will drop you as a student and make sure that nobody else will ever teach you, and puppeteers will listen to me. Kankuro hastily nodded as he pocketed the black powder before struggling to lift the rock with one string, and sweat dropped when he saw Five floating in front of his new sensei while she sat and used one hand to rest her wrinkled chin on. God damn it, old people are fucking nuts. Sakura sat in front of a complicated network of clear pipes with different colored water running through them and intersecting at places. It was a higher level control exercise and the goal was to use her chakra to push and pull the water through the pipes, making them run in a pattern. But while doing this, she also couldn't allow the water to mix where the tubes intersected, and if it did, the girl had to quickly separate the two colors before they permanently mixed. Rin sat overlooking Sakura with a critical eye, making sure to correct any mistakes that were made while quizzing her student with a variety of medical knowledge, forcing the Junon to split her attention and reduce the concentration she had on the pipes. After all, a medic had to be aware of things around them and still be able to heal effectively. That's enough, Sakura. I think that it's almost time to start working on healing a fish. Your Shosen no Jutsu, mystical palm technique, is at an acceptable level and you just need experience with diagnosing patients to get better at that. I wish that there was something combat-oriented I could teach you, but you haven't developed your chakra enough for its natural affinity to become apparent, and we don't have a lot of time for guesswork. All we can really do is work on your chakra control to improve your jutsu and your medical knowledge so you can heal yourself more efficiently during the fight as well. Sakura nodded. I understand, Rin-sensei, but I don't want to engage a Hyuga in taijutsu if I can help it, and Hinata can see me throw my senbon wherever I am, and any sneak attacks or diversions will be foiled by her Kekai Genkai, so my ranged techniques are less effective than usual. Rin gave her student a patronizing smile. Sakura, so naive. The idea of using chakra scalpels came from the Jukin, and the medical style is just as deadly, if not more so. Jukin attacks the chakra network as well as major organs, breaking the body down, and while chakra scalpels cannot close tenketsu or damage chakra coils, you still have the ability to shred muscles and the circulatory system and damage organs as well. Hinata won't be able to close any of your chakra points if she can't lift her arms, and she has to hit those tiny dots to shut your chakra down, whereas you don't need to be as accurate. Even a glancing blow can hit some surface veins or arteries, which would slow her down as well. Seeing her student's hesitant nod, Rin put on a vicious smile. Well, Sakura, I think I came up with something else to work on for the rest of the month. Sakura gave her teacher a wary look as her hands started glowing blue. Try to stop my attacks. If you can handle me, then a Junon should be no problem, Hyuga or not. Sakura gulped as her hands glowed and she met her teacher's charge. The people of Suna were confused. It was a beautiful out and there wasn't a gust of wind all day, yet a sandstorm was raging in the distance. Unbeknownst to them, in the epicenter of the storm stood Gaara in a calm area, trying to increase his control over sand and chakra reserves. He'd never been touched in battle before, let alone defeated, but a blonde maelstrom came along and did both, showing Gaara that he must improve, so here he is trying to do something. The problem is that he was at a loss of what he could do to improve. The sand responded to his will, so there was no conscious effort or real skill on his part, and the redhead hardly felt the dent on his chakra reserves even after creating and maintaining a sandstorm for an hour. Letting the storm die down, Gaara tried to create intricate shapes with his sand while he thought about how to increase his strength for their next fight. If my control over sand can't really improve, maybe I need to think and be creative with my attacks. I need to start outmaneuvering my opponents instead of overpowering them. Gaara was trying to create a miniature version of the toad that defeated him down to the minutest detail when his creation was suddenly hit by a wave of gold dust before being engulfed completely. Gaara shifted his vision to the left while his eyes narrowed. What do you want, Kazekage? Gaara's father stepped out and gave his son a neutral gaze. I figured the sandstorm was your doing. I just wanted to make sure that nothing bad was happening. Gaara stared at Suna's leader before turning his back on his father while inwardly cursing that he took after the man. Tamari looked like his mother did in the pictures he saw in the house, a mother who didn't love him and cursed the boy at birth. To make matters worse, every time he looked in a mirror he saw his father, the man who hated him and was trying to kill him. Well, as you can see, everything is fine, so you can just leave me alone. The man gave Gaara's back a regretful look before speaking softly. What are you doing then? I'm training for the Chunin exams. I was recently shown that I am not an unbeatable force. If I am to live, then I must be strong. Yes, imagine my surprise when I find out that a Chunin was able to best you in the desert. Perhaps I should take more of a hand in your training. After all, you are supposed to be Suna's ultimate protector. Prepare yourself, Gaara, and show me your strength. Gold clashed with sand as father and son tested their mettle. Temari was in her father's private library while he was investigating the sandstorm. She wasn't really supposed to be in here, but it wasn't like the shelves held village secrets or kinjutsu, just techniques used by her ancestors over the years, although her family happened to be the most powerful founding family in Suna. Her mother didn't wield a battle fan, but she was constantly told stories about her great-grandmother, who was one of the best fan users in the village's history. The blonde was here looking for one of her great-grandmother's old techniques to use against Naruto when they fought. When she first saw him, she was skeptical that he would be tough competition. The boy had one eye covered, which she assumed was useless, and though the Chunin looked pretty serious, Naruto just had this bright aura around him that didn't make him seem dangerous, even though Kankuro almost shit his pants and compared the cheery blonde to Gaara. She followed the two Konoha Chunin to learn more about the competition, and he gave her the slip and took her by surprise, piquing her interest. But after spending time with Naruto, she just got drawn in by his open and genuine nature. The sunny blonde was always kind and quick with a smile, a spot of brightness in the gloomy aura of the Suna. Temari was disappointed as soon as Gaara laid eyes on her fellow blonde and picked Naruto as his next prey, so she tried to put the Konoha ninja out of her mind, convinced he had no future. When the two finally clashed, Temari was certain Naruto would be reduced to a bloody smear, but he somehow managed to beat Gaara in full possession, and she later overheard her father and Baki say he was a container like Gaara. Temari was floored that the boy could contain a demon like her brother and turn out as kind as he did. If he was treated a tenth as bad as Gaara, then he still should have been insane. Temari's attention was now captured, and she wanted to impress Naruto and show him that she could stand shoulder to shoulder with him as a strong kunoichi and was a way better choice than his teammate. If only she could fight that pink-haired bitch, then she'd learn that it was luck that allowed them to draw before. Temari was reaching up on the highest shelf to put a scroll back when she felt a small one rolled up and tucked into the corner. She pulled it out and undid the seal with wind chakra before unrolling it on the table. Her eyes widened and smile got bigger the farther down she read. What a find! This jutsu is perfect, and it has more stages as I get stronger as well. I know I can at least get the first step down in a month. I wish there was more time so I could do the next wind exercise, but the beginner version shouldn't be a problem at my current level. And if I train hard enough, I can definitely get the first branch move down no problem. Temari looked up at the clock on the wall before cursing loudly. She rolled up the scroll and strapped her battle fan into its holster before rushing out the door. She was late to meet Baki, but at least she was bringing something to work with. As long as she could come up with a reasonable explanation to where she found the scroll. Shino stood across from his father as their bugs crawled back into their sleeves. The elder Aburame pushed his sunglasses up his nose before addressing his son. Acceptable work, Shino. You show an aptitude for using the Kikaiku. You deploy them logically and have impeccable timing and coordination with your hive. All your plans were well within your current capabilities, and you have mastered the beginner formations. We have some time before we must meet with our comrades, so we shall take a quick break to restore our energy because we have been expending much of it during battle and the Kikaiku haven't fed much. After eating and feeding the bugs, I shall explain the intermediate exercises. The boy looked towards the fire. Yes, Tosan, it sounds quite logical. Good indeed. Jiraiya sat on a boulder while drinking some of River Country's finest sake. Usually the sage preferred the cheap stuff that would burn on the way down and packed a punch. But the daimyo was a huge fan of his, so sent some of Kawanokuni's finest sake to the hermit when he heard that Jiraiya would be in the area with the other Konoha shinobi. He wiped his lips after a particularly long swill and looked on as some Naruto clones were standing on the surface of a slow-moving river trying to make the water rise up around them like a tornado with pure chakra manipulation. The Sennin had to admit that he wished he had access to these exercises when trying to improve his shape manipulation. It was no wonder Kushina learned the Rasengan so quickly if she completed these exercises. Hopefully they helped another bunch of Naruto clones that were trying to use the technique with one hand. After he understood the concept, the boy learned it faster than anyone so far with his shadow clone training, but Naruto still couldn't use the third stage efficiently. Sure, he could power it up one-handed after building it up for several seconds or create it with the clone, but that took away the true strength of the Rasengan, the ability to create it quickly without seals to surprise the opponent. Jiraiya had to admit he enjoyed the look on his new student's face when he said that there would be no further lessons until the Rasengan was mastered, but when given an explanation why, the blonde understood and tried even harder, and now it looked like some of the clones were getting close. The original Naruto was sparring with shadow clones of him and Kakashi. They weren't going all out but were constantly pushing the teen and keeping him at his limit while periodically trying to push the young shinobi past it. The original copycat was off doing some of the elite Uzumaki control exercises, he said after hearing about Akatsuki and how concerned Jiraiya was that it was time he got back into fighting form, and the sage agreed. Minato would be disappointed that his prize student stagnated like that. In fact, it looked like he lost a step or two recently, even if his mind got sharper. Like Sarutobi-sensei said, the best shinobi are those that find balance between heaven and earth. One of the clones working on the Rasengan cheered before dispelling. The rest of the bunshine smiled before they all use a one-handed Rasengan perfectly. The remaining ones dispelled, and the real Naruto took a good hit because of the sudden influx of information. The Brett bounced back spectacularly though, and the Chunin managed to take his clone by surprise with the Rasengan. Kakashi clone thingy, that's enough. Reported now Naruto. Naruto zipped in front of Jiraiya and gave a mock salute, reporting in pervert Taiku. Ignoring the blonde's cheekiness, Jiraiya continued, "Good, it looks like you have a decent handle on the Rasengan now, and like promised you can learn something new." Naruto started bouncing from foot to foot while rubbing his hands gleefully as Jiraiya pulled out a scroll with B rank clearly visible on the outside. "This is a scroll detailing a B rank wind jutsu. Kakashi said that you've shown enough self-control that he trusts you enough not to destroy everything in sight when using this, but since neither of us have wind affinities, you're on your own, so hop to it. Right, Hirosenin, you better have another jutsu in the wings because I'll have this one down in no time, D-by-O. Whatever you say, kid, it took you longer than I thought to learn the Rasengan. I doubt you'll be able to learn this before the tournament." "Yeah right, you useless lecher, why don't you go find a prostitute or something?" "That's a great idea. I was going to stay here and watch you fail, but that sounds way more fun. I'll see you later, Gaki." The white-haired man jumped into the trees and Naruto turned his attention to the scroll. He sat down and opened it before reading intently. After he finished, the Chunin retied the scroll before he stood up and created some clones. "You know what to do, let's get this jutsu down fast." The clones spread around the clearing and began practicing, but no one got so much as a breeze on the first attempt. Naruto trained almost non-stop on the new jutsu, only stopping to sleep or eat some food that Kakashi prepared for the boy, knowing he would overdo it. The Chunin lost track of time, he was so focused on training, and when Naruto finally got it and dispelled the latest batch of clones, he was surprised when he looked up and saw the moon hanging in the sky. "Hold on a second. If that's a full moon, then that means the tournament is tomorrow. I'm gonna miss it. There's no way we can make it to Suna before it starts." You say something, Naruto?" Naruto looked up to see his sensei's lone eye staring at him over his new book. "Yeah, why didn't you tell me that the tournament was tomorrow, Kaka-sensei? How can I be a Chunin if I don't attend the finals? They'll probably never promote me now. I blame having you as a role model." Kakashi's lone eye crinkled at hearing he was a role model as he smiled at the panic boy. "Geez Naruto, I'll have to teach you astronomy apparently. That's not a full moon, the moon will be full tomorrow. We were supposed to meet up with everyone in town today, but you were really close, so I told Rin that we just meet the group in Suna. Now we just need to find Jiraiya and we can get going. I assume he's in the town nearby, so let's head there." Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. "Yeah, let's get a move on. Once we find that pervert, I can go to Suna and become a Chunin." Sakura finished double-checking her pack as she stood next to Rin and waited for the rest of the competitors to show. They were just missing Shino and Naruto, and she looked down the street for them while trying to ignore Hinata's glare. She just gouged the whore's eyes out in the arena later with her specials. Sakura jumped when she suddenly heard, "We are here and ready to leave whenever everyone else is." The pinkhead turned and saw that somehow Shino and his dad appeared in the middle of the group without anyone noticing. Creepy. Rin picked up the pack by her feet and slung it over her shoulder. "We're all here, so let's get a move on." Sakura gave the brunette a questioning look. Rin-sensei, what about Naruto, Kaka-sensei, and Jiraiya-sama?" Rin huffed and narrowed her chocolate eyes. "Hokage sent Pakun to inform me that they would meet us in Suna because Naruto was putting the finishing touches on his training." Sakura nodded and nobody asked anything else, so they took to the trees and traveled towards Sunagakure no Sato. The group arrived in Suna later that day and stayed in the same hotel for the night. Sakura left her team's empty room the first night and bunked with Rin for the 2 nights before the tournament. Now it was the morning of the tournament and she tightened her black headband and smoothed the wrinkles out of her crimson dress as she looked at herself in the mirror and was finally proud of what was reflected there. "Okay, I said that I would get stronger and become a good kunoichi. Well, today is the big day and I'll prove it to everyone." The girl strode confidently out of the bathroom and walked down to the lobby with her stomach doing flips. She stepped into the large room and her eyes widened as she took in all the people and noticed the lack of Naruto. Shino's mother apparently joined her husband and son, though it was hard to see any resemblance as she was just as bundled up as the other 2 Aburame. Hinata's father traveled with the group along with Neji, but several other Hyuga also made the trip themselves, including a small girl that looked like Hinata's sister. She managed to smile when she saw a flash of pink in the back and knew that it had to be her mom standing in the back of the pack and rushed over to her. "Mom, what are you doing here?" The woman smiled. "Well, sweetie, work gave me paid leave when they heard you were in the finals, even though I didn't say anything, and some strange man with long white hair offered to pay for my travel expenses because you were on a team with his apprentice and the kid kept bugging him about how you'd love it. It wouldn't happen to be that Naruto boy that you're so fond of." Sakura blushed and couldn't respond because of the embarrassment and surprise that Naruto and Jiraiya would do that, but smiled and promised herself to thank the two later, after she beat them if they were late. "Well, that's great, Mom. I'm glad you can be here. Did you come alone?" The woman laughed. "No, dear, the Yamanaka family accompanied me and they traveled with the Nara and Akimichi. Apparently the Inuzuka clan came with Hinata's teammate as well, and all of them are waiting at the stadium along with several other important figures in the village. We even got to travel with Hokage-sama, he was so kind and even talked to me. I'm so excited, Sakura-chan. I get to sit with all these powerful people. Can you picture me in the same section as all those bigwigs? Well, I have to go get going before they get a wagon and I have to wait by myself for the transportation. I just wanted to stop in and let you know I'll be rooting for you and I'm proud." Sakura gave her mother a toothy smile as she left the lobby as the group gathered and Rin addressed them. "Alright, all the fighters come with me and the rest of you can make your own way to the stadium. Remember, it's just outside the city proper. I'm actually amazed they were able to set it up in a month." The spectators left and Sakura was worrying about Naruto once again before Rin continued when it was just Sakura, Shino, and Hinata. "Alright guys, I hope that you're ready and want all of you to do your best. Remember that you're representing our village out there, so go out and show the world your strength and that of Konohagakure no Sato." Kankuro finished putting on the traditional war paint of the puppet brigade, even though Chio laughed at him when he explained what he was doing. The boys' skills definitely improved greatly during the past month, but they didn't have time to make a puppet and Kankuro was going to have to use his training one in the tournament. He grabbed the rickety contraption that he wrapped in bandages yesterday and slung it over his back before exiting his room for the last month. When he entered the main area in the cave, Chio's voice reached his ears. "Where are you going with that? I hope you're not thinking about taking that from me." Kankuro stared at the wrinkled woman with wide eyes and mouth open. I'm going to the tournament, and this is my training puppet that I've had since I was 6. The woman's shrieking laugh reached his ear. "Well, I knew that. But why would you use that piece of junk when I was going to let you use these?" Chio held up 2 scrolls with the kanji for 7 and 1 on them. Kankuro's chin only fell. "You can't be serious. Are those what I think they are?" The woman nodded. "Yes, it is. They are the most basic of the 10, but they should serve you well. The demon puppet has strong defense and incredible striking power, while the red maiden is strong in offense though not very flexible. You show a decent level in controlling 2 puppets, so although I'd give you something to prove puppetry is not dead. I've taken the liberty of removing the usual poison and coating their weapons with a strong paralytic as well. Also, the training puppets I let you use have a similar style and mechanisms as these 2, and I'm sure that you know all the contraptions in here. After all, I made sure that you learned all about my illustrious career, and here is the guide to them anyway because I know how dumb you are. Just don't lose that or let anyone else see it." Kankuro dropped to his knees and prostrated himself. "Thank you, Chiyoba-sama, for all the help." The woman snorted. "Don't thank me yet. I expect those puppets back after the tournament, and I've decided to take you under my wing permanently, so you'll probably hate me in due time. You've shown talent and that is what puppetry needs. Much like this village, the art is decaying from the inside out, so I think that we need to show that both can recover, and today is an opportune moment. Now go out there and show the world that Suna is still one of the great 5. Kankuro bowed one more time before leaping across the city to meet his older sister. He arrived at the gates to their mansion and was surprised to see that Gar was waiting with her at the gates. They both held themselves differently than the last time he saw them. Gaara didn't look like he might lose control and slaughter everyone in his line of sight at the slightest provocation, while Temari stood taller and with more confidence. Kankuro gave his siblings a smile. "You two ready?" Gaara didn't respond as Temari smiled back and answered, "Of course, we've got to prove to the daimyo that Suna isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Besides, I've got to show Naruto what I can do." Kankuro grit his teeth after hearing that, and Gaara responded, "Yes, I am looking to show Uzumaki Naruto that I've improved just like Temari." The oldest sibling blushed and looked away as blood trickled from her nose while Kankuro stood in shock. After his brain restarted, the middle child managed to get out, Gaara, what do you mean? He has shown me where true strength comes from, and I'd like to show him that I too understand what he tried to teach me as a friend." Kankuro let loose a breath he didn't know he was holding. "Oh yeah, that? Well, you'll have to hope that he gets by me. I hope that he doesn't hurt you too much. Naruto jumped full speed through the desert, sending sand everywhere with his two teachers jumping on his sides. It took them longer than they thought to find Jiraiya. They looked at literally every bar and brothel in the town, and it had an amazing amount for such a small village. The duo couldn't find the Sennin and continued searching for half the following day, looking around the hot springs. The man found them, and it turned out that the hermit found a family that was having trouble finding a dog, so helped them locate it. The two were skeptical at first until a little boy and his dog came up and thanked the man with his family. The two were shocked but wasted no time as they rushed towards Suna without speaking, while Jiraiya silently thanked God for shadow clones. They had to stop for camp because Naruto and Kakashi didn't sleep the night before, and they managed to get a solid 8 hours. But the problem with that is they only planned for 6, so Naruto was once again sprinting across the sands. The arena was a dot on the horizon, and the three shinobi put on a burst of speed now that their destination was in sight. They arrived to find the gates closing and trumpets blaring, so they climbed the outside wall up to the roof. Jiraiya said he had to sit with the Hokage, so he leapt off, leaving the two, and Kakashi put a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Good luck. Naruto felt a strange pull, and suddenly he was looking up where they just were and realized that Kakashi sunshined them both to the floor before he let go and disappeared once more. Temari and Sakura smiled at the blonde as he took his spot in line and faced the proctor. The green-haired man stood in front of the candidates, and when the band stopped playing he used chakra to project his voice and spoke to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chunin exam finals. Before we begin, I'd like to direct your attention to the screens located on the upper walls. We have the finest shinobi running the cameras today, so you can look up there if you ever lose track of the two combatants. However, when one is hiding, we won't expose their position. Also, the fight shall be recorded and distributed throughout the elemental nations and will be available shortly after the tournament ends. Today we have 8 fighters here to show the strength of both themselves and their respective villages. These exceptional Chunin will put their lives on the line for a chance at promotion. Let's hope these promising shinobi give it their all, give you some spectacular fights. Now will everyone but Haruno Sakura and Hyuga Hinata report to the fighters box, and we shall begin the final round. The 6 competitors that weren't fighting jumped up to the waiting box. Gaara approached the blonde and Shino stood behind his comrade tensely until the redhead extended his hand. Uzumaki: Naruto, it is good to see you again. I look forward to our rematch in the finals. Naruto clasped the offered hand firmly before smiling. Yeah, me too. I can't wait to kick your ass again, and this time with an audience. A smirk ghosted over Gaara's face before Temari latched onto Naruto's arm, squeezing his arm between her bust. Hey, don't get too cocky, Naruto. After all, you have to fight me first, and I won't take it easy on you even if you're cute. Kankuro stepped forward and glared at the blushing blonde's arm. Yeah, and even if you get past her, I'll knock you down a peg. Shino pushed his sunglasses up his nose while Naruto stuttered out gibberish. That won't happen. Why? Because you will not advance out of the first round since I am your opponent. Sunlight glinted off Shino's glasses as the Chunin gave each other competitive stares, and Naruto broke the tension. Oh my eye, Shino, what the hell, man, can you control where the light goes when it reflects off your glasses? The fighters sans Shino, Gaara, and Samui, who ignored the 5, laughed before they looked down in the arena just as the proctor slashed his hand through the air, signaling the start of the fight. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.